Okay, so 3, Everest the Hard Way, which is an extract from a non-fiction book. Explain which parts of Pete Boardman's story of the return to Camp 6 you find tense and exciting. Okay, so basically you have to try and pick out all the things, all the words and all the phraseology and facts that actually make this kind of exciting or tense. So what you want to do is you want to pick out, with the tension and excitement that's been created, if your question is like this, obviously, what you can offer perceptive explanations and interpretations on the text. So again, so you can understand what's being said. You know, you can read between the lines and kind of show what the writer is actually feeling or thinking. Employs appropriate quotations or references to support ideas. So again, you're just picking out very concisely and very relevant. So obviously we haven't read it, we don't know what it's about. So the fact that a decision had to be made and there was a time limit of 10 minutes. Okay, so a decision, again, remember these are all may. So even if you pick out stuff, same as with the English exam last year, when I did an English exam last year, some people were like, oh, I didn't pick that out. I was like, it doesn't really matter if you didn't pick out what the examiners put down in the responses. What's really, really important is that you pick out something that you can actually discuss and talk about, because these are just, there'll be dozens and dozens on each exam paper, and these are just kind of the most common ones that maybe in tests students picked out. Okay, so the fact that a decision had to be made, so that there was a need to be decisive for a decision to be made, and there was a time limit of 10 more minutes, so it suggests something bad was going to happen. Again, here's put that there. Precarious position, building tension, and ending the statement in time was up. So the placement there, they commented on the placement, it says ending in the statement, the time was up. So basically that gives an idea that by the end of whatever paragraph that was, it was also kind of referenced on their actual situation. Their time would also be up. The part where they're going the wrong way and there was a blizzard and the night was coming to an end, they had to consider their own lives, or against nature and the elements, all this kind of stuff. And then there's, you know, that's all just kind of normal dramatic stuff, you know, blizzard, night, thunder, whatever the kind of thing may be. Obviously, if you get something completely different, it's about like recycling or polar bear extinction or immigration, whatever it may be, you just have to pick out again all the words, and that's kind of like trying to read the media and understand what it is they're trying to read a text, should I say, and understand what it is they're trying to tell you. So here again, there was no sign of Mick, suggests something bad had happened to him. We're not used to moving, so again they were doing something different to them. Boardman thought he was lost, and then they said it was a miracle of finding the rope, you know, so something really good had actually happened, and it was in the dark, so obviously it was stressful. And Boardman, you know, the fact overall that Boardman, the strong, experienced conqueror of Everest, burst into tears, shows just how tense the experience had been, and that he knows Mick is not coming back. So you've got all of that building up together. That really kind of shows the tension, detail, and excitement created. And again, you know, if you picked out five of these points and explained them, 5 or 6 of these points, you know, you're always going to get high marks for that. If you pick out 1 or 2, you're not really giving yourself a chance to, sorry, 2 or 3, you're not giving yourself a chance to get above these marks here, because then it won't be detailed enough. So although you might be perceptive, it's the detailed kind of point that you really want to get across. So basically, you just want to leave, you don't want to leave the examiner with anyone that go, actually that's not enough. So you just want to kind of give it to them. But remember, it's always, you're picking out different points. Don't go to the same point and then write 4 paragraphs. You see here, each one's just a sentence. Okay, so don't overwrite. Don't say, oh yeah, and it also made me feel this, and it also made me feel this, because you're just wasting words that you could actually use to reference some other words or other quotations that you pick out. So we move on then to question 4. Okay, now you need to refer to source 3, and either source 1 or 2. You're going to compare the text. And this is the one where students actually find they have the most difficulty. Okay, so this one's 16 marks. Now, comparing and contrasting obviously can be done in different ways. You can choose to highlight something from one source and then just say how it's all different to another source, or you can pick different elements of a source and then say how it's similar or different to another source. Is however you want to do it. So you're going to compare the two texts, compare the different ways in which language is used for effect. Give some examples and analyze what the effects are. Now this is going to be tricky to explain without obviously the text in front of me. But obviously, as you see here, you've got the list of how things are actually used. Now, what you've got here from the examiner, or what the examiner will be looking at, is all the kind of things that are actually mentioned. Now, again, it's going to be just how language and some maybe language and phraseology is used. So what you're trying to do is just pick out what effect they have on you. So for example, if we pick here, the decision was needed, so it's short and dramatic and good. So you picked out language, and you picked out the features of the language, the way it was used is, you know, very short, etc., and it gives us a sense of determination. Now obviously I haven't read them, so I can't say, but that might be something completely different to here, you know, in Ed's speech where they start with a joke, for example. I'm not saying that's what I'd write, I'm just saying that's an example of what you could do. So whereas one's gone for really serious and dramatic, one's gone for something jokey, because remember, you're comparing, and obviously in that you're going to contrast as well, just show how they're similar or different. Okay, so you've got the another example. So you've got a sense of battle of war, fighting in combat, and and then also you've got the sense here that they're fighting for their lives somehow. We had to fight on our own, to fight for our own lives and think. I thought I said think downloads for a second. Forgive me, and think downwards. So you've got those two kind of elements there. Okay, so there's that imagery of the fighting and the kind of the battle, and you know, the toughness, and that comes kind of comes through. So again, like just looking over this, in fact I think is really useful. If that's the website there, so actually I'll just show you really quickly, because you know, just in case you can't find it, if we go to a new window and we type in AQA, so if you just want to follow these instructions, obviously the links, if I try and put links in YouTube, it doesn't really work. So I'm going to go AQA, which you see here, and then I go subjects, sorry, the links break if I actually try and put them through on YouTube, English. And then I'm going to look for the English language paper, because that's what the new one's called. No specifications. Key materials. And then you've got past papers. And you've only got 1 year. Okay, so you pick on January, go, and then you've got the high or found. Obviously, if you know you're doing foundation paper, you might want to look at that. Obviously, be slightly more streamlined than what we've gone through. And here you get the mark scheme, and then you'll get, that's exactly the page that you've just seen me go through now. So I know that's quite obvious, but just might be a helpful pointer for some people. Okay, so that's section A. We'll come back and do section B in a minute.